Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon, future chartered accountants. So, it's time. Good afternoon, everybody. For a fast track revision of what we have discussed in the last class, that is unit number 5. Good afternoon. So, let's do what we have discussed. We have discussed the remedies for breach of contract. Just a moment, beta. Remedies for breach of contract. First, we have discussed the rescission of contract, that is the cancellation of contract. It is the termination of contract by promisee when promiser refuses to perform. Suit for damages, that is monetary compensation. What are the kinds of damages? Ordinary damages equal to the actual loss, but not for indirect loss. A special damages decided at the time of contract, not directly connected with the loss, but decided at the time of contract. Exemplary damages, it is given only in two cases: in case of breach of contract of Mary or unjustified dishonor of the check. Nominal damages, when there is no loss, but just to calm the ego, of the plaintiff, it is granted. Damages for inconvenience, we have also discussed damages for delay, and we also discussed the prefix, that is liquid damage and penalty. If damages are equal to the loss, then liquid damages. When more than loss, it is penalty, right? Suit for special performance, when monetary compensation is not adequate remedy, the court grant the party special performance for the breach of contract. But important thing, it is not granted where damages, that is monetary compensation, is adequate relief. It is in please mark. When contract is of personal nature, when it is not possible for the court to supervise whether the performance is done as per the court's order, when the contract is made by company beyond its object clause, which is given in as per the MOA. Suit for quantum merit means as much as earned. जितना काम हो गया उतने का पेमेंट कर दीजिए. When a person has done some work under a contract and the other party repudiated the contract, or some event happens which makes the further performance of contract impossible, then party who has performed the work can claim the remuneration for the work he has already done. Suit for injunction, stay order. If the party do something which is decided not to do, and party is doing, the court may grant the stay order. That is called injunction, right? So please prepare the sheet. First question. The breach of contract occurs when a party fails to perform his obligation on due date, declares not to perform his obligation on due date, both A and B, none of these. The answer is both A and B. In both cases, it is breach of contract. In case of breach of contract, which of the following remedy is available to the aggrieved party? Aggrieved party मतलब प्रताड़ित व्यक्ति. Suit for rescission, suit for damages, suit for specific performance, all of these. The answer is all of these. In case of breach of contract, how an aggrieved party can recover compensation from defaulting party? Compensation. By suit for injunction, by suit for damages, by suit for specific performance, none of these. The answer is suit for damages, compensation, monetary compensation. A court order for restraining a person from doing something which he promised not to do can be obtained by filing a suit for injunction, specific performance, quantum merit, none of these. A court order for restraining a person from doing something which he promised not to do can be obtained by filing a suit for injunction, specific performance, quantum merit, none of these. The answer is injunction. Generally, which of the following damages are not recoverable? Audi damages, special damages, remote damages, nominal damages. Generally, which of the following damages are not recoverable? Ordinary damages, special damages, remote damages, nominal damages. The answer is remote damages. Where a banker wrongfully dishonors a check, dishonors customer check, the court may award ordinary damages, special damages, exemplary damages, none of these. Where a banker wrongfully dishonors a customer's check, the court may award ordinary damages, special damages, exemplary damages, none of these. The answer is exemplary damages. In case of anticipatory breach of contract, the contract automatically comes to end. Promisor is discharged from his liability. Promisee has no remedy. Promisee can claim damages. Select the best suitable option. Select the best suitable option. In case of anticipatory breach of contract, the contract automatically comes to end. Promisor is discharged of his liability. Promisor has no remedy. Promisee can claim damages. See, in this question, option A is not available because in a case of anticipatory breach, contract is not automatically comes to end. In option B is also not available because promiser is liable. C is also wrong. Promisee has no remedy. The best option is the promisee can claim the compensation damages. The right answer is D. Where damages are not adequate remedy, the court may order for suit for injunction, suit for quantum merit, suit for rescission, suit for specific performance. Where damages are not adequate remedy, then court may order for suit for injunction, suit for quantum merit, suit for rescission, suit for specific performance. The answer is suit for specific performance. And a film star agreed to act exclusively for K, a film producer, for 1 year. During the year, she contracted to act for some other producer. In this case, K cannot sue N at all, cannot restrain N by injunction, can restrain N by injunction, has to produce the film with other actors only. And a film star agreed to act exclusively for K, a film producer, for 1 year. During the year, she contracted to act for some other producers. In this case, K cannot sue N at all, cannot restrain N by injunction, can restrain N by injunction, has to produce the film with other actors only. The right answer is option C, can restrain N by injunction. Suit for specific performance of contract can be instituted by promisee where the promiser has breached the contract, the promisee has suffered abnormal loss, damages are not adequate remedy to promisee, parties agree to go to the court for remedy. Suit for specific performance of contract can be instituted by promisee where the promiser has breached the contract, promiser has suffered abnormal loss, damages are not adequate remedy to promisee, party agree to the court for remedy. The right answer is damages are not adequate remedy. So check your performance. Let's start unit number 6. Good, Karthik. Yes, Singh. Good, Padma. So let's start unit number 6. That is contingent and quasi contract. Contingent and quasi contract. So what are the contingent contract? First come to the concept of contingent contract. Normally a contract may be absolute or contingent. Absolute. First we should understand the concept of contingent when we will come on the absolute. But normally contingent contract are those contracts the performance of which is dependent upon some uncertain event. A contingent contract are those contracts the performance of which dependent upon an uncertain event. It may be dependent upon the happening, it may be dependent upon the non-happening. When the performance of a contract is dependent upon the happening or non-happening of an event is called contingent, and otherwise contract is absolute. जहां कोई डिपेंडेंसी है किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की, दैट इज कॉल्ड कंटिंजेंट. कोई डिपेंडेंसी नहीं है, एब्सोल्यूट. सो एन एब्सोल्यूट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट is one where the promiser undertakes to perform the contract in any event without any condition. Any event without any condition. Any event without any condition. Right? You can say Karthik, but अभी जब तक पूरा कंसेप्ट समझ लो तब तक अभी ओपिनियन फॉर्म मत करो. ओके. So contract is dependent upon happening or non-happening of an event. It is contingent. If there is no such condition, it is absolute. So as per section 31, a contract to do or not to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. Collateral means supporting or secondary. Means कि इवेंट कोई ऐसी इवेंट इज नॉट लाइक दैट कि मेन इवेंट मेन. फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट्स से एग्जांपल, a contract was entered between A and B for selling of umbrella on the condition that A said to B, I will sell you the umbrella if it rains on the Monday. एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है ए और बी के बीच में कि साहब अगर बारिश हो गई छाते बेचूंगा मैं आपको. तो इन दिस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट द मेन ट्रांजेक्शन इज द सेल ऑफ अम्ब्रेला, but dependent upon the rain, happening or non-happening of rain. So event is secondary matter, but main thing is sale of umbrella. So a contract may be to do or not to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. कि एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कुछ करने के लिए या कुछ नहीं करने के लिए डिपेंड होता है किसी घटना पे, घटना होती है या नहीं. So here please underline, it may be for to do or not to do something. It may be dependent on does or does not happening of an event, like insurance of contract. One more example, a contract to pay B rupees 1 lakh if B's house is destroyed by fire. The contract is contingent contract because in this contract the main purpose is just to compensate for the loss. इन्होंने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया बी से, अगर आपका घर जल गया तो मैं आपको 1 लाख रुपया पे. किस पर्पज से? क्योंकि आपका जो कॉम्पनसेट लॉस हुआ उसको कहीं ना कहीं कॉम्पनसेट कर सके. प्लीज रीड दीज 3 लाइंस. तीनों पॉइंट पढ़िए बच्चों. यस. Now the concept of collateral event. Basically, collateral event an event which is neither a performance directly promised as a part of the contract nor the whole of the consideration for a promise. ना तो ये पूरी तरह से कंसिडरेशन है, ना ही मेन पर्पस है, ना ही ये परफॉर्मेंस है, ना ही ये कंसिडरेशन. It is a secondary or supporting part of the contract. I have taken the example. I'm taking the example, just for example, contract between A and B for sale of umbrella on the based on the happening or non-happening of an rain on Monday. कि भैया अगर बारिश होगी तो छाते बेच दूंगा, नहीं हुई तो नहीं बेचूंगा. तो main thing is, main contract is to sell of umbrella. Dependent upon secondary thing, rain is not an performance, not the consideration. It is an event जिसके ऊपर contract का performance dependent. See the example number 2, a contract to pay rupees 1 lakh to if B's house is burned. This is a contingent contract. Here the burning of B's house is neither the performance as a part of the contract nor the consideration. Burning कोई घर जल जाना कोई परफॉर्मेंस नहीं था कि भैया आप जलाओगे तो मैं पैसे दूंगा, नहीं. ये तो कोई इवेंट अगर हो जाती है तो हम आपको कॉम्पनसेट करेंगे. So the liability of A arises only on the happening of an collateral event. Please पढ़िए इसको. तो सर इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी को हम कंटिंजेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही कह सकते हैं. यस, इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी इज ऑलवेज अ कंटिंजेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. पढ़िए बच्चों, मैं 1 मिनट दे रहा हूं. Now, what are the essentials of a contingent contract? What should be the essentials of a contingent contract? कि contingent contract है उसमें क्या चीजें basically required है. Which slide you are talking about, Sandhya Rani? For collateral event, I told you the collateral event is not a performance, is not the consideration, just an secondary event on which performance of contract dependent. I have taken an example कि if A and B enters into contract for sale of umbrella, but sale of umbrella dependent upon the happening of rain on Monday. So happening of rain, neither the performance of the contract, neither the consideration of contract, it is just a secondary deciding factor. A secondary factor. So it is not a event. It is not a basic event, primary event. So what actually remember wagering contract we have discussed, wagering agreements we have discussed. If it rain on Monday, I will give you 100 rupees. If there is no rain on Monday, you will give me 100 rupees. In that case, the rain is just a performance or the consideration. कि अगर होगी बारिश तो आप पैसे दोगे, नहीं होगी तो मैं दूंगा. तो but in case of contingent, basic contract is something else. Event is just a supporting or secondary part of the contract on which basis the performance is dependent, right? So come to the essentials of a contingent contract. The performance of a contingent contract would depend upon the happening or non-happening of some event or condition. Please underline. Performance of contract depend upon the happening or non-happening of some event. So please note somewhere in your book example, basic example A, B and umbrella. तो आपको याद है. The event on which the performance is made to depend is an event collateral to the contract. Collateral, secondary, not the main consideration. Not the main consideration. Where A agrees to deliver 100 bags of wheat and B agrees to pay the price only afterwards, the contract is conditional, not a contingent. अगर A ने B से कहा भैया मैं आपको 100 बैग सामान बेचूंगा पर पेमेंट जब होगा जब आप मुझे माल भेज दोगे, वीट भेज दोगे, तब मैं पेमेंट करूंगा. तो दिस इज द कंडीशनल, नॉट द कंटिंजेंट. Contingent means a contract which is dependent upon the happening or non-happening of an event. So the contract in this case is conditional contract, not the contingent, because the event on which B's obligation is made to depend is a part of the promise itself, not a collateral event. One more example. Similarly, where A promised to pay B rupees 1 lakh if marry C, it is not an contingent. Please read these 2 points with examples. Third point, the contingent event should not be mere will of promiser. Will, उसकी इच्छा पर डिपेंड नहीं होना चाहिए, पार्टी की इच्छा पर डिपेंड नहीं होना चाहिए. The contingent event should not be mere will of the promiser. A promiser to pay, A promises to pay B rupees 10,000 if A left Delhi for Bombay on particular day. It is contingent contract because going to Bombay is an event, no doubt within A's will, but it is not merely his will. बहुत सिंपल सा मीनिंग है इस एग्जाम्पल का कि इन्हें प्रॉमिस किया कि अगर मैं दिल्ली से बॉम्बे जाऊंगा तो 10,000 रुपये पे करूंगा. अब ये इसकी इच्छा पर डिपेंड हो सकता है, इच्छा पर डिपेंड हो सकता है, लेकिन पूरी तरह इच्छा पर डिपेंड नहीं, क्योंकि इस हफ्ते कोई और पर्पज हो जाने का. A promised to pay B rupees 10,000 if A left Delhi for Bombay on particular day. It is contingent contract because going to Bombay is an event, no doubt within the A's will, but is not merely his. The event must be uncertain. So it may be possible, it may not be possible. Where the event is certain or bound to happen, where event is certain or bound to happen, the contract is due to be performed is not a contingent contract. If event is bound to happen, certain, it is not a contingent contract. So for the contingent contract, event must be uncertain. See the example number 6. A agreed to sell his agricultural land to B after obtaining the necessary permissions from the collector. As a matter of course, the permission was generally granted on the fulfillment of certain formalities. It was held the contract was not a contingent contract as the grant of permission by the collector was almost a certainty. क्या कह रहा है एग्जाम्पल, पढ़िए एक बार इसको. सर एग्जाम्पल फॉर कोलेटरल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का एग्जाम्पल है? नहीं भैया, नहीं बेटा, ऐसा नहीं कि A agreed to sell his agricultural land to B after obtaining the necessary permissions from collector. But actual में normally permissions are based on the submission of some documents. कि the permission किस पर डिपेंड करती है? आप डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट कर दीजिए और पूछना जवाब दीजिए. So after submitting the documents or after fulfilling the formalities, you will definitely get the permission for sale of land. So it cannot be said as a contingent contract. क्या कह रहा है एग्जाम्पल में कि ए ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया बी से कि मैं आपको अपनी एग्रीकल्चर लैंड बेचूंगा, लेकिन कुछ परमिशन मिल जाए मुझे. अब परमिशन तो आपको मिल ही जाएंगी जब आपकी फॉर्मेलिटीज आप पूरी कर देंगे. गवर्नमेंट की परमिशन जो रिक्वायरमेंट होती है वो ऐसी नहीं होती कि इम्पॉसिबल हो, तो वो पूरी कर दीजिए, देन यू विल गेट द permission for sell the land. So in this case, permission can definitely will be given by fulfilling certain formalities. So it cannot be said as contingent contract. पढ़िए बच्चों एक बार इसको. तो what we have discussed till now? We have discussed absolute contract, no condition, no dependency to be performed in any event. Contingent contract, dependent upon the transaction dependent upon the happening or non-happening of an event. Event is not the primary; it is the collateral. Collateral means secondary or supporting. Right? Which was the section of contingent contract? Anybody tell me? Which was the section? कितना याद रखा आप लोगों ने? Karthik is correct. Anyone else? Yes, Singh, Sanjay Rani, very good. Everyone is active in listening. Very good. Good, Harsha. Sargam, good. So, essentials क्या क्या थे? एक बार फटाफट रिवाइज करते हैं. Dependent upon the happening or non-happening of some event. Event should be collateral. It should not be mere will. And event must be uncertain. नोट कर लो फटाफट से एक बार, याद रहेगा ये क्वेश्चन. मैं 1 मिनट दे रहा हूं, चारों पॉइंट अपने आप याद करके नोट करिए. प्लीज नोट दीज in your note in your copies or notebook, all the 4 points. Done or not? Sir, I am not getting your voice, so please check there is default in your side. बाकी लोगों को तो आवाज आ रही है बच्चे. Noted or not? Tell me fast. Done. Very good, Garvit. Harsha, very good. Okay, Sargam. Chaliye. Now, rules relating to the enforcement. So next 5 to 6 slides are based on these rules. Please pay attention on my words. I will repeat 2 or 3 times. Please pay attention on my words. Then these rules will be clear to you. Okay. So first rule, section 32. Listen, everybody. If a contract is dependent upon happening of an event, if a contract is dependent upon happening of an event, can be enforced only on happening of that event. If a contract is dependent upon happening of an event, can be enforced or claimed only on the happening of that event. But if the happening becomes impossible, then contract will be void. If a contract dependent upon the happening of an event can be enforced only on the happening of that event, but if happening become impossible, contract is becomes void. अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किसी घटना के होने पे डिपेंड करता है, तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उसी जब ही एनफोर्स किया जा सकता है या क्लेम किया जा सकता है जब वो घटना हो जाए. और अगर उस घटना का होना इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा। सी एग्जांपल नंबर 7, X entered into a contract with Y to purchase Y's buffalo. If X survived Z, X entered into a contract with Y to purchase Y's buffalo. If X survived Z, X ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया Y के साथ कि वो Y की भैंस को खरीद लेगा इफ X सर्वाइव Z, यानी X Z से ज्यादा जिए। इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, अदर वर्ड्स इफ Z डेथ ऑफ Z बिकम बिफोर द डेथ ऑफ X, कि Z की डेथ हो जाए X से पहले। In view of the said principle of law, the contract in the instant case could not be enforced by law unless and until Z dies during the lifetime of कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। जब तक Z की डेथ नहीं हो जाएगी X की लाइफ टाइम में, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एनफोर्स नहीं होगा। बट अगर X की डेथ हो जाती है Z से पहले तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा। इफ X डाइज बिफोर Z, द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विल बी वॉइड। अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग एग्जांपल नंबर 7, X entered into a contract with Y to purchase Y's buffalo if X survived Z. In view of the said principle of law, the contract in the instant case could not be enforced by law unless and until Z dies during the lifetime of X. Example 8. A contract to pay B a sum of money when B marries C. C dies before being married to B. The contract becomes A ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया कि वो पैसे देगा अगर बी सी से मैरिज कर ले, लेकिन सी की डेथ हो जाती है शादी से पहले, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा। सो प्लीज I am repeating again this section 32. Listen, everybody. If a contract is dependent upon the happening of an event, if a contract dependent upon the happening of an event can be enforced only if the event happens, but if happening become impossible, contract will be void. अगर कोई contract depend करता है किसी घटना के होने पर तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उसी वक्त एनफोर्स हो सकता है जब वो घटना हो जाती है, अदरवाइज और अगर घटना का होना इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा। सेकंड पॉइंट, सेक्शन 33, जस्ट रिवर्स ऑफ सेक्शन 32। लिसन एवरीबॉडी, इफ ए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज डिपेंडेंट, if a contract is dependent upon non-happening of an event. In section 32, the contract was dependent upon the happening of an event. In section 33, contract is dependent upon non-happening of an event. So performance can be enforced only when the happening become impossible. When a contract is dependent upon non-happening of an event can be enforced only when the happening becomes impossible. But if event happens, the contract will be void. If event happens, the contract will be void. अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपेंड करता है किसी घटना के नहीं होने पर, तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कब एनफोर्स होगा, जब उस घटना का होना इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए, और अगर वो घटना हो जाती है तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वॉइड हो जाएगा। आई एम रिपीटिंग माय वर्ड्स, section 33 is just reverse of section 32. Section 30 says if a contract dependent upon the non-happening of an event can be enforced only if the happening becomes impossible, and if event happens, contract will be void. Contract becomes void. See example number 9. We agree to pay Q a sum of money if certain ship does not return. The ship was sunk. Now the contract can be enforced. P और Q में एग्रीमेंट हुआ कि अगर वो कुछ पैसे देंगे अगर वो शिप लौट के नहीं आए, तो जिस दिन वो शिप डूब जाएगा तो आना इम्पॉसिबल हो गया, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, अब इनफोर्सेबल हो जाएगा। अब इफ शिप रिटर्न्स, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विल बी। तो एक चीज पॉइंट नोट कर लो, यहाँ पर एक लाइन में लिखवा दे रहा हूँ मैं आपको. इफ इवेंट happens, contract becomes void. When a contingent contract is to be performed based on the non-happening of an event, its performance can be enforced when the happening of the event becomes impossible. If event happens, the contract becomes. Any doubt in section 32 and 33? बोलिए फटाफट से, क्लियर हुआ? वेरी गुड. वेरी गुड यशी. Now section 34 and 35. Section 34 and 35 are the same section, same provisions as given in section 32 and 33, but one additional point is time limit. Section 32 and 34 provisions are almost same, but in section 34 time limit is also there. Same in 35. So first come to the 34. एक second. No, sorry, 35 and 35. 34 something different. 34 something different. 35 is same as 32 and 33. So first I am taking 35. Okay. First I am taking 35. अच्छा, tell me in आप message कीजिए in short. What was in 32? What was in 32? एक short में 32 में क्या था? Heading लिख दीजिए. Mention the heading. Yes, very good. Good guessing. Everyone saying in 32 contract was dependent upon the happening of an event. Very good. What in 35? First part. First part. If a contract is dependent on the happening of an event within the certain time, within a fixed time. Section 35 provides a contract which is dependent, the performance of which is dependent upon the happening of an event within a fixed time. Within a fixed time was not in the section 32. Dependent upon the happening of an event within the fixed time. So please listen my words. If a contract is dependent upon the happening of an event within the fixed time, the contract can be enforced only if the event happens within that time. But if event does not happen within that time, or happening become impossible within that time, the contract will be void. अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपेंड करता है किसी घटना के होने पर किसी पर्टिकुलर टाइम के अंदर, तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कब एनफोर्स किया सकता है? जब वो घटना उस टाइम में हो जाती है, या अगर उस घटना का होना इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए उस टाइम के अंदर, या वो घटना उस टाइम में नहीं होती है, तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा? वॉइड हो जाएगा. आई एम अगेन रिपीटिंग. If a contract is dependent upon the happening of an event within the fixed time, if a contract is dependent upon the happening of an event within the fixed time, can be enforced only if the event happens within that time. But if event does not happen within that time, or if the happening of the event within that time become impossible, the contract will be void. See example number 11. A promises to pay B a sum of money if certain ship returns within a year. The contract may be enforced if the ship returns within the year, and become void if ship is burned within that year. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या था? प्रॉमिस टू पे बी अ सम ऑफ मनी, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ सर्टेन शिप रिटर्न विद इन दैट ईयर, एक साल में शिप आ जाएगा तो हम अपना परफॉर्मेंस दे देंगे. अगर शिप आ जाता है, इफ शिप रिटर्न विद इन दैट ईयर, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज एनफोर्सेबल. इफ शिप sunk or burnt, so it becomes impossible to return the ship within that year, the contract will be void. So read again section 35. If a contract based on the happening of an event within the specified time, section 35, contingent contract to do or not to do anything on the happening of a specified uncertain event within the fixed time becomes void if at the expiration of the time fixed such event has not happened, or if before the time fixed such event becomes impossible. Clear? Section first part of section 35. Point number 4, clear or not? Clear, Padma. Now the second part, just reverse of just same as section 33, but time limit is there. If a contract based on the non-happening of an event within the specified time, non-happening, the provision becomes reverse. Contingent contract to do or not to do anything if a specified uncertain event does not happen. So listen my words. If a contract is dependent upon non-happening of an event within a specified time, if a contract is dependent upon the non-happening of an event within a specified time, it can be enforced only if that event does not happen within that time, or happening of that event become impossible. But if event happens within that time, the contract will be void. I am repeating my words. If a contract dependent upon the non-happening of an event can uh, can be enforced, can is enforceable or can be enforced when the event does not happen within that time, or happening become impossible within that time. But if event happen in that time, the contract will be void. एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपेंड करता है किसी घटना के नहीं होने पर पर्टिकुलर टाइम में, तो वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या होगा? अगर वो घटना होना इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए या वो घटना नहीं होती है उस टाइम पीरियड में, तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्लेम किया जा सकता है. बट अगर वो घटना हो जाए तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा? वॉइड हो जाएगा. सी द एग्जांपल नंबर 12. ए promises to pay B a sum of money if certain ships does not return within a year. Does not return, dependent upon non-happening, does not return. So contract may be enforced if ship does not return within that year, or is burnt or sunk within that year. But if ship returns in within that year, the contract will be. So section 35 says contingent contracts to do or not to do anything if a specified uncertain event does not happen within a fixed time may be enforced by law when the time fix has expired and event has not happened, or before the time fix has expired if it becomes certain that such event will not happen. राइट, रीड कीजिए इसको. कार्तिक क्या पूछ रहे हैं? सर अगर किसी इवेंट के हैपनिंग नॉन हैपनिंग पर शर्त लगाई जाए तो कंटिंजेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा? नहीं, दिस इज द वेजरिंग एग्रीमेंट. पढ़िए इसको. सेक्शन इज सेम बेटा. बोथ पॉइंट्स आर मेंशन सेक्शन 35. 35 पूरा क्लियर हो गया? यस कार्तिक, बिल्कुल राइट. Now section 36. After that I will take section 34, but section 36. Contingent contract based on the happening of an impossible event, it is always void. If a contract is dependent upon an impossible event, are always void. Whether the impossibility of the event is known or not known to the party, मालूम हो या नहीं मालूम हो क्या फर्क पड़ता है. See section 36. A contingent agreement to do or not to do anything if an impossible event happens are void, whether the impossibility of event is known or not known to the parties to the agreement at the time when it is. See example 13. X agrees to pay Y rupees 1000 if two straight lines should enclose a space. The agreement is void. पैरेलल लाइंस कैसे एक दूसरे को क्लोज हो जाएंगी, नहीं हो सकती. तो पैरेलल कहाँ होंगी, वो स्ट्रेट लाइन हो ही नहीं सकती. Contract void. A agrees to pay B rupees 1000 if B will marry A's daughter. C was married daughter C. C was dead at that time. The agreement is void again. Every section are important. ओके रीड कीजिए बच्चों इसको एक बार. Very good. Now come to the section number 34. Based if a contract is based on the behavior of a person within a specified time. If a contract is based on a person within the person of a within the specified time. Yes, beta. Yes, Kartik, right, beta. If a contract is based upon how a person will act within a specified time, the event shall be considered to become impossible when such person does anything which renders it impossible, and he should so act within definite time or otherwise then under the further contingencies. First come to the example. A agrees to pay B a sum of money if A marries C, C marries D. The marriage of A and to C is now to be considered impossible. Although it is possible that D may die and C may afterwards marry A. ये एक एग्जाम्पल है. वापस प्रोविजंस पे आते हैं. सेक्शन 34 क्या कहता है? If a contract is based upon a how a person will act within the time. अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपेंड करता है किसी पर्सन के बिहेवियर पर, वो किस तरह से बिहेव करेगा एक पर्टिकुलर टाइम में, the event shall be considered to become impossible. Event impossible मानी जाएगी अगर when such person does anything, अगर वो पर्सन कुछ ऐसा करे कि वो इवेंट जो जिस पे बेस था वो इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए. The event shall be considered to be become impossible when such person does anything, when such person does anything which renders it impossible to act in that time. कि किसी पर्सन के बिहेवियर पर डिपेंड करता है, पर वो पर्सन कुछ ऐसा काम करे कि वो जो बिहेवियर था वो इम्पॉसिबल हो जाए. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो जाएगा, वो वॉइड हो जाए. सी एग्जाम्पल 10. अब इस एग्जाम्पल 10 पढ़ते हैं. क्या कहता है? ए एग्रीज टू पे बी अ सम ऑफ मनी इफ ए मैरिज सी, सी मैरिज डी. एक ट्रांजेक्शन डिपेंड था, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपेंड था कि कुछ पेमेंट करने का, अगर ए ने सी से मैरिज कर, सी ने क्या किया, डी से शादी कर ली, तो अब ए की मैरिज सी से होना इम्पॉसिबल है. अब ये पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती है कि भैया कुछ लोग कहें कि भैया डी मर जाएगा तो फिर सी वापस शादी कर ले. ऐसा नहीं, प्रैक्टिकली ऐसा नहीं मान सकते इसको लॉ के अकॉर्डिंग. तो एट दैट टाइम व्हाट इज हैपनिंग कि भैया ए ने क्या करा, ए को मैरिज कर दी सी से, पर सी ने डी से कर ली. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इम्पॉसिबल टू परफॉर्म, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बिकम्स वॉइड. राइट. So what are the points? What are the 6 points? First point 32 says if a contract dependent upon the happening of an event can be enforced only when the event happens, but if the happening become impossible, contract will be void. Section 33 says if a contract dependent upon the non-happening of an event can be enforced only when the happening of the event become impossible, but if event happens, the contract will be void. Section 34 says if a contract dependent upon the behavior of a person within the specified time. But if that person do something like that, the happening become impossible, the contract will be void. Section 35 says if a contract dependent upon the happening of an event within specified time can be enforced only if the event happens within that time. Event happens within that time, but if the happening become impossible within that time or event does not happen within that time, the contract will be void. Again, section 35 says point number 5. If a contract dependent upon the non-happening of an event within that time, within the specified time, can be enforced only if the happening in within that time become impossible or event does not happen within that time. But if event happen within that time, the contract will be void. And the section 36 6 point says if a contract dependent upon the happening of an impossible event, it is always void whether known to or unknown to the party. पार्टी को मालूम हो या नहीं हो, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या होगा, void. क्लियर होगा सेक्शन 32 36? एनी डाउट? सेक्शन 32 to 36 clear? Tell me fast. Question may be asked for 4 to 5 marks. What is the difference between contingent and wagering? So please prepare one more column. Prepare one more column for basis also, right? So ready for first part, first LPL for the day. कार्तिक सर 34 35 सेक्शन में डिफरेंस क्या है? 34 35 डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द इवेंट, 35 dependent upon the happening or non-happening of an event, but 34 is based contract based on the dependent or based on the behavior of a person. दोनों में अंतर है. 34 किसी पर्सन के बिहेवियर पर है और 35 किसी घटना पर डिपेंड, राइट? सो रेडी फॉर LPL 1 मैच 1. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. A contract of insurance is a contract of guarantee, contingent contract, wagering agreement, unilateral agreement. एक क्वेश्चन है हर्षा का, सर 36 33 में क्या डिफरेंस है? अरे 33 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज बेस्ड ऑन द नॉन हैपनिंग ऑफ एन इवेंट, कोई घटना नहीं होती है, बट 36 सेज द डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द हैपनिंग ऑफ एन इम्पॉसिबल इवेंट, कि भैया इम्पॉसिबल पर डिपेंड कर, तो वो तो ऑलवेज वॉइड होगा. सेकंड क्वेश्चन, ध्यान से पढ़िएगा इस क्वेश्चन को, गलती करेंगे इसमें. अ कंटिंजेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, a contract to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. A contract not to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. A contract to do or not to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. A contract to do or not to do something if some collateral, some event collateral to such contract does not happen. पढ़िए ध्यान से. Next question. A contingent contract is always void, becomes void when event become impossible, is voidable, never becomes void. Is a game of chance, conditional contract, contingent contract, wagering agreement, quasi contract. Space contract are enforceable by future event. Conditional contract, contingent contract, wagering agreement, quasi contract. A agrees to pay B rupees. A agrees to pay rupees 10,000 to B if certain ship returns within that year. The ship sinks within the year. In this case, the contract becomes valid, void, voidable, illegal. So send your answers. A contract of insurance is a contingent contract. The right answer is C. A contract to do or not to do something. दोनों बातें आनी है, both. If some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. Section 31. Contingent contract become void when event becomes impossible. Wagering is a agreement is a game of chance. Contract are enforceable by contingent contract. And last one is agrees to pay 10,000 to B if certain ship returns within that year. The ship sinks within that year, the contract becomes void. So let's check who has given all the correct answers. Priyanka, Sandhya Rani, Akshit, Sargam. क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 सिंपल द फंडा गेम ऑफ चांस ही तो होता है डिस्कस किया था वेजरिंग बेटे भूल गया तेजस्विनी सो at this place we are having a break of 10 minutes after that we will finish this part rest part of the unit number 6 ठीक है 5-10 मिनट सॉरी 10 मिनट का ब्रेक ले रहे हैं बच्चों सर बच्चों को ब्रेक दीजिए 10 मिनट का सर स्टार्ट करें क्या? Okay, so now we are discussing the quasi contract. So before starting the concept, before starting what the provisions provide for it, I'm just taking a simple example. Already taken in my previous classes, but again, as well we are starting the topic, please try to consider this example. Suppose X and Y entered into a contract. X and Y entered into a contract by which X will supply 100 kg of rice to Y, right? And Y will make the payment. Okay. On the date of delivery, what actually happened? The rice was wrongly delivered to Z. Wrongly delivered by the agent, by the hawker of X to Z. And Z taken it as its own. Z ने उसको ले लिया and consume it. My question to, before all of you, that who are the original party to the contract? Who are the original party to the contract? Padma Singh, X and Y, very good. Parties to the contract, very good. X and Y, very good. But what actually happened? The performance of contract was done by X to Z. Whether Z is liable or Y is liable, who is liable to make the payment? Listen, who is liable to make the payment? Z says there was no contact between X and Y. X and Z. Z says if there was no contact between X and me, so I am not liable to pay. Y says I have not received the consideration, so I should not pay. So who is liable to pay? Everyone is saying, sir, Z is liable to pay. But listen, my friends, there is no contract between X and Z. There was no contract between X and Z. Even Z is liable to pay because he has received the performance, he has received the consideration. Even there was no pre-contract between X and Z. So this type of contract between X and Z is called quasi contract. This type of contract between X and Z is called quasi contract. Under certain special circumstances, the law creates and enforces legal rights and obligations, although the parties have never entered into the contract. Although the parties are never entered into the contract, but legal situation says that this party is liable. So such obligation imposed by law are called quasi contract. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं हुआ कि कभी भी, बट सिचुएशन ऐसी हुई कि उनको पेमेंट करना है, परफॉर्म करना है, तो इसे हम क्या बोलेंगे बच्चे? क्वासी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. क्वासी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स आर बेस्ड ऑन द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ इक्विटी, जस्टिस एंड गुड कंसर्न. सही नियत से सही इक्वलिटी, न्यायिक होना चाहिए, ये फंडा है क्वासी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का. कि भैया न्याय करो, ये थोड़ी ना वाई ने कॉन्टेक्ट किया तो वाई पेमेंट करेगा. जब वाई को राइस मिला ही नहीं तो ही इज नॉट लायबल टू पे. Who has received the rice, that is liable. A quasi or constructive contract rests upon the maxim no man must grow rich out of the another person's loss. ऐसा नहीं कि वाई पेमेंट करेगा और जेड तो रिसीव कर लिया, जेड को तो फायदा मिल गया, लॉस किसका हो रहा? वाई. नहीं भैया, आप ही को पेमेंट करना है जेड, भले कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ था या नहीं हुआ. Sir, but sir, it was X mistake, then why shall Z pay out? If it is, no doubt, you are absolutely right, it is the mistake of X, then Z has also taken his as his own. जेड ने भी तो ये मान लिया मेरा है, कंज्यूम कर लिया, जब जेड को पता ही था, when जेड ऑलरेडी knows that there was no contract for supply of rice by X to me, then why he has taken? वो तो पता था कि मुझे मिलना ही नहीं है, कोई कॉन्टेक्ट ही नहीं हुआ, तो उसने क्यों लिया भाई? जब लिया तो भुगतना पड़ेगा। कोई और एग्जाम्पल दे सकता है मुझे, जितना हमने पहले भी पढ़ा था? एनीबडी कैन गिव वन मोर एग्जाम्पल फॉर दिस टाइप ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट? नेवर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बट लायबिलिटी इज देयर। एनीवन एल्स? Phone recharge by mistakenly. Yes, you can say. Finder of lost goods. Very good. Anybody else? Purse found. Same thing. Finder of lost goods. Wrong food delivery. Good. Tell me more. Mistaken delivery of goods to different address. Very good. Pratik. Good Pratik. Good Akash. Anybody else? Amount wrongly credited to other accounts. Yes. See the examples. Some examples. Help someone in carrying bag. कह सकते हैं. T. A tradesman leaves goods at C's house by mistake. C treats the goods as his own. C is bound to pay the goods. एक गलती से गुड्स सी के पास रखा दिया, सी ने अपना मान लिया. नाउ सी इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट. Example 16. A pays some money to B by mistake. It is really due to C. A ने गलती से पैसे B को दे दिया, C को देने थे. Now B must refund the money to A. One more example. A fruit parcel is delivered under a mistake to R, who consumes the fruit thinking them as birthday present. R must return the parcel or pay the fruits. Although there is no agreement between R and the true owner, yet he is bound to pay as the law regards it as a quasi. Clear? Sir, what is the difference? Section 36 and 56. 36 says the contract is dependent upon the happening or non happening of an impossible event. And section 56 says contract to do impossible act. किसी इम्पॉसिबल एक्ट को करने का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा तो वो 56 लगेगा, वहां पर 66 लगेगा. और कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किसी इम्पॉसिबल इवेंट पर डिपेंड करता है तो सेक्शन 36 लगेगा. Sir, if a company deals in service business like audit etc., then what will happen? Please clear your query, beta. Example 15, 16, 17 and the concept of quasi contract clear है कि नहीं है, बताओ फटाफट से. Okay, Garvit. Clear. Tejaswini, Akash, Yashi, all clear, sir. Very good. Now, types of quasi contract. So, your study modules accordingly, there are 5 types of quasi contract. 5 types has been mentioned in your study module for the types of quasi contract. First, claims for necessities supplied to a person incompetent to contract. Section 68. A supplies B a lunatic. But please tell me what is, I have already discussed with you. Who is lunatic? Can you define the lunatic? Not Jagdeep, your answer is not sufficient. Please mention clearly what is the meaning of lunatic. No, no, no. Sir, like your business has contacted a CA firm for audit and someone else take the advantage of your clients. एक second. Your business has contacted a CA firm for audit and someone else take the advantage of your contract. So then that other person will be able to make the payment. Person of unsound mind. Sandhya, what are you saying, beta? You are saying it is minor. No. Yashi, whose mind is not stable. Karthik saying, sir, who is usually unsound but occasionally sound. Very good. Karthik. Good, Akash. सिर्फ कार्तिक का आंसर है जो परफेक्ट है. ठीक है, बाकी सब लोग दिया है आंसर बट कंप्लीट नहीं है. कार्तिक के पास आंसर इज वेरी गुड. Absolutely correct. So, come to the section 68. Claims for necessaries supplied to a person incompetent to contract, section 68. What it says? Suppose A supplies B a lunatic with necessaries suitable to his condition in life. A is entitled to be reimbursed from B's property. So please note, a lunatic is liable to pay. Note कर लीजिए please. A lunatic is liable to pay for necessities supplied out of his property or estate. Out of his property or estate. A lunatic person is liable to pay for necessities supplied to him out of his property or estate. एक lunatic person उसको कुछ सप्लाई दिया नेसेसरीज. याद है नेसेसरीज क्या था? रोटी कपड़ा मकान शिक्षा, फूड क्लॉथ शेल्टर एजुकेशन. If these type of necessities are supplied, then he is liable to pay out of his properties. So the goods, important point क्या है? The goods must be necessaries and only the property, movable or immovable, that shall be liable. Suppose you supplied the necessaries to a lunatic person worth rupees 10,000. Suppose you supplied the necessaries to a lunatic person worth rupees 10,000, but his property is valued only for 8,000. उसकी प्रॉपर्टी केवल 8,000 की, हमने 10,000 की सप्लाई कर दी, then he is liable to make the payment only for 8,000. So who will bear the loss of 2,000? You will bear the loss of 2,000. Why you supplied? अगर आपने सप्लाई 10,000 का किया नेसेसरीज, लेकिन उसके पास केवल 8,000 की प्रॉपर्टी है, तो आप उससे केवल 8,000 ही क्लेम कर सकते हैं. क्लियर पॉइंट? क्लियर ये हुआ पॉइंट? एनी डाउट ऑन दिस पॉइंट? ओके सर, गुड यशी. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, right to recover money paid for another person, section 69. See, first come to the example. X holds a land in Rajasthan on a lease granted by Y, the Jamindar. Lease means on rent. You can on a rent कह सकते हैं. On a rent. X holds a land in Rajasthan on lease granted by the Y, the Jamindar. Means X को Y ने X को एक लैंड दिया हुआ है एग्रीकल्चर, जमींदार. क्योंकि Y कौन है? जमींदार. The land revenue due, land revenue means tax, lagan, due on Y being in area to the government, advertised by the government for the sale. उस लैंड पर टैक्स बकाया था, लगान बकाया था, लैंड रेवेन्यू वाज पेंडिंग. तो गवर्नमेंट हैज एडवर्टाइज इन द न्यूज़पेपर फॉर द सेल ऑफ लैंड. And under the land revenue law, such sale will be the annulment. Annulment means cancellation या termination. Termination of X lease. यानी कि अगर गवर्नमेंट ने वो लैंड बेच दी तो जो एक्स पे जो एक्स का जो लीज एग्रीमेंट है, रेंट एग्रीमेंट है, दैट विल बी टर्मिनेटेड, दैट विल बी एंड. So X to prevent the sale and the consequent annulment of this his own lease pays the government the sum due from Y. अब उससे बचाने के लिए, सेल से बचाने के लिए एक्स ने क्या किया, सारे लैंड रेवेन्यू टैक्स पे कर दिए. नाउ एक्स कैन क्लेम दोज टैक्सेस फ्रॉम वाई एंड वाई इज बाउंड टू मेक द गोस टू एक्स द अमाउंट सो पेड इवन देयर वाज नो एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन एक्स एंड वाई फॉर द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स ऑफ वाई. एक बार एग्जांपल पढ़िए, मैं दोबारा लेता हूं. सर अगर सप्लाई कम किया हो तो जितना किया है उतना क्लेम कर सकते हैं. यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सेक्शन 68. प्लीज रीड एग्जाम्पल 19. क्या था, एक्स के पास एक लैंड है जिसके लिए वाई ओनर था, लेकिन वाई ने उस लैंड का टैक्स लगान नहीं दिया था गवर्नमेंट को. तो गवर्नमेंट ने उसे वसूलने के लिए क्या किया, एडवर्टाइज निकाल दिया कि भैया हम जमीन बेचेंगे क्योंकि इसने इस जमीन पर टैक्स पे नहीं किया है. पर अगर ये जमीन बिक जाती तो जो लीज है, लीज एग्रीमेंट था, वो खत्म हो जाता और एक्स को वो लैंड छोड़नी पड़ती. X has to vacate the land if the sale was done. So what X done? X has made the payment of all the taxes, so that land could not be sold. Question arises whether X can recover the amount of tax paid by him on behalf of Y. The answer is yes. Y is liable. This type of contract is called quasi contract. So what the provision says: a person who has paid a sum of money which another is obliged to pay is entitled to be reimbursed by that other person provided the payment has been made by him to protect his own interest. पढ़ते हैं करके one by one. A person who paid a sum of money, this is Mr. X, who has paid a sum of money which another is obliged to pay. Another means Y is entitled to be reimbursed. तो X claim कर सकता है from that other person, that is Y, the payment provided. लेकिन कंडीशन क्या है, द पेमेंट हैज बीन मेड बाय हिम टू प्रोटेक्ट हिज ओन इंटरेस्ट. यानी उसकी खुद की गर्दन फंस रही थी. ही इज सेविंग हिज ओन इंटरेस्ट. ही इज सेविंग हिज ओन इंटरेस्ट. प्लीज रीड वंस अगेन पॉइंट नंबर बी विद एग्जांपल 19. सर सी कहां से आ गया इसमें, कार्तिक? क्वेश्चन में एक बार दोबारा देखो आपने क्या लिखा है, अगर सही करो उसे. X not pay the land revenue and X lease contract terminate by government, then who is liable to pay loss? किसका लॉस, X का या Y का? Yes, you can say Akash, X का लॉस. So Y will be liable to pay the X loss if due to this termination X suffer some loss. भाई X तो खाली कर दी, जमीन करनी पड़ेगी, उसको लॉस हुआ मान लीजिए, then Y is liable to make the payment. Y will liable to compensate X. क्लियर कार्तिक? इस एग्जांपल में कोई डाउट किसी को? पढ़िए और आराम से, आराम, टाइम टाइम दो. Clear? Sir, one more example. Okay, suppose suppose you have to pay. देखिए, problem is that कि one important line in this case is to protect his own interest. Suppose you have given up your flat to a person, Mr. X, on rent. कंसिडरेशन क्या हुआ? कंसिडरेशन ये है, एक सेकंड अभी पहले इसकी प्रॉब्लम लेता हूं मैं, तेजस्विनी की, देन आई विल टेक द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ कार्तिक. Suppose you have given your flat on rent to Mr. X and electricity bill has not been paid. So problem is that the electricity department just cut the connection for electricity if the payment is not made. So X made the payment on your behalf, that Mr. X can claim it, right? सर कंसिडरेशन क्या होगा? कंसिडरेशन कुछ भी नहीं, कंसिडरेशन आपकी लाइबिलिटी पे कर दी उसने, ये कंसिडरेशन है उसका. भाई आपके एक्स ने वाई की लाइबिलिटी पे कर दी, तो एक्स क्लेम करेगा, रिएम्बर्स लेगा. क्लियर? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, obligation of paying person enjoying benefits of non-gratuitous act. Non-gratuitous means no free. Gratuitous मतलब free, non-gratuitous मतलब जो free ना हो, no free. Some consideration should be there. On this point, in previous classes, I have taken an example. Anybody have idea what I discussed? I already discussed this point. Sir, what if Mr. A got into an accident and Mr. B took him to the hospital and got him treated, also paid for treatment, so Mr. A will be liable to pay full amount to Mr. B? Yes, definitely. Remember an example what I've discussed? Yes, Padma, you are very right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Akash, correct. Garvit, very correct. No, 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 Yashi. This was not the correct answer. अभी 3 लोगों ने आंसर दिए, पद्मा, गर्वित एंड आकाश. नो. The example was a person was selling puri sabji or puri bhaji before the temple. Remember? Suppose, see the example, a person was selling a car on cart. A person was selling on his cart a puri sabji before the temple. So Mr. X comes to that temple and thinks that was the bhandara that is distributing free of cost, just like Prashad. And he taken the puri sabji from the that seller. But seller has never any intention to give it free to any person. He's charging the price for this puri sabji. So the Mr. X has enjoyed the benefit of non-gratuitous act. Non-gratuitous means without no free now, that is not free. So Mr. X has taken the puri sabji and consumed, but this act on the part of the seller was non-gratuitous act. It means that is not free. That was not gratuitous. That was not free. He is charging the price for it. So when the seller demands the payment, X denies the payment by saying that, "Ki, sir, just I am thinking it was distributing free of cost. I was in mistake." Whether Mr. X is liable to make the payment or not? Whether Mr. X is liable to make the payment or not? Tell me. The answer is yes. Because because the seller has never any intention to give it the free of cost. So that is the section 70. क्या कहता है ये? In term of section 70 of the act, in term of the section 70 of the act, where a person lawfully does anything, where a person lawfully does anything to him, not intending to do so gratuitously, and such other person enjoys the benefit thereof, the latter is bound to pay compensation to the former in respect of or to restore the things so done or delivered. क्या कहा? Where a person lawfully does anything for another person. So this person means seller does anything for another person. Another person means X, or delivers anything to him not intending to do so gratuitously, means free नहीं देना उसको. And such other person, that is Mr. X, enjoys the benefit. The later means X is bound to pay compensation to the former seller in respect of or restore the things so done or delivered. या चीजें वापस करो या उसको compensation. रीड कीजिए एक बार बच्चों इसको. Please read the provisions. पूरी सब्जी की पिक्चर देखते सारे प्रोविजंस याद आ गए, है ना? एग्जाम्पल 20, ए ट्रेड्समैन लीव गुड्स एट बी's हाउस बाय मिस्टेक, गलती से गुड्स छोड़ दिया तो या तो पैसे दो या गुड्स वापस करो. तो बी ट्रीट्स गुड्स एज ओन, तो ही इज बाउंड टू मेक द पेमेंट टू ए. क्लियर? एग्जाम्पल 70, सेक्शन 70 क्लियर और नॉट? कोई क्वेरी ऑन दिस पॉइंट? आगे चले. एनी क्वेरी ऑन सेक्शन 70? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ फाइंडर ऑफ गुड्स. कोई चीज अगर आपको मिलती है, यू आर द फाइंडर ऑफ गुड्स. One thing you should understand in the concept of finder of goods, कोई चीज आपको मिलती है तो उसमें एक चीज क्लियर समझ लीजिए. सपोज X फाउंड्स a watch. X found a watch on the road. Only the original person can claim from him. Original owner can claim from him. अगर कोई चीज आपको पड़ी मिलती है ना, तो केवल ओरिजिनल जो ओनर है उसी का राइट है, वही क्लेम कर सकता है. कोई और आपसे वो क्लेम नहीं कर सकता. कोई आपसे क्लेम नहीं कर सकता. तो ये बात अपने दिमाग में क्लियर कर लीजिए. कार्तिक क्या पूछ रहे हैं? सर क्वासी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक तरह से लायबिलिटी है विदाउट एनी एग्रीमेंट. यस, यू कैन से इट. रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ फाइंडर ऑफ गुड्स सेक्शन 71. A person who finds goods belonging to another, takes them into his custody, is subject to the same responsibility as that of bailey. As that of bailey. अब बेली कौन होता है? उसके लिए आपको याद है मैंने मतलब बताया था, बेलर. सर हाउ ही नो ही इज द ओरिजिनल, ही इज द ओरिजिनल ओनर. ये तो देखो डिपेंड करता है एविडेंस पर. वी आर टॉकिंग अपॉन प्रोविजंस ऑफ लॉ एंड एवरी प्रोविजंस इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द एविडेंस. ठीक है. सो याद है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बताया था मैंने बेलमेंट का, बेलर नहीं बेलमेंट. पहले बताओ किस चैप्टर में बताया था मैंने? In which unit I have told you about the bailment? In which unit? बताओ फटाफट से. In which unit I have told you about the bailment? किसी को याद नहीं आ रहा? गुड तेजस्विनी. गुड पद्मा प्रिया. वेरी गुड बेटा. और बताओ. I have discussed you this concept in unit number 2, the topic contract without consideration. याद आया कुछ? What is the bailment? To give something to someone. To give something to someone for a specific purpose with the condition that after the accomplishment of purpose, this will be returned to the original owner. You have given your book to your friend for study purpose with the condition that after purpose is accomplished, the book will be returned to you. आपने एक बुक दी अपने दोस्त को पढ़ने के लिए, पढ़ के वो वापस कर देगा, इसे क्या बोलेंगे? बेलमेंट. रिमेंबर, द पर्सन हु इज गिविंग is called bailer and who is receiving is called bailee. And the bailee, what is the responsibility of bailee? If you are giving your book to your friend is bailee. What is the responsibility? To take proper care of the book, to give book on the time. कि भैया प्रॉपर केयर करे, बुक वापस कर दे, ये तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. We will discuss this topic in detail in unit number 8. But for this purpose, bailee means the person who receives the goods. And what is responsibility? To take proper care, to give it to the original owner within the time, like not an agent. He is not an agent. Agent नहीं होता है. Clear? So a person who finds the goods belonging to another and takes them into his custody is subject to the same responsibility as he is a bailee. It means if you find something, it's your responsibility to find the original owner, to take proper care of the goods, what you have found, right? जो चीज मिली है उसकी प्रॉपर केयर करनी है, ओरिजिनल ओनर को ढूंढ के वापस करना है, ये आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. Thus, a finder of the lost good has to take proper care of the property as a man of ordinary prudence would take. यानी जो नॉर्मल आदमी करता केयर वही आपको करनी है. नो राइट टू अप्रोप्रिएट द गुड्स, उसको यूज नहीं करना है. एंड टू रीस्टोर द गुड्स इफ द ओनर इज फाउंड, जब ओनर मिल जाए तो उसे वापस करना है. क्या? प्रॉपर केयर करनी है, यूज नहीं करना है अपने पर्सनल यूज के लिए, और जब ओरिजिनल ओनर मिल जाए तो उसे वापस करना है. To take proper care like it's his own goods. Yes. See the example number 21. P, a customer in D's shop, puts down a brooch with her coat and forget to pick it up. One of the D's assistants found it and was placed in a drawer over the weekend. On Monday it was discovered as missing. D was liable to P in view of the absence of the ordinary care which he, in such circumstances, a prudent man would have taken. कहता है पी एक कस्टमर है, डी की शॉप पे जाता है, कोट रखता है अपना, गलती से कोट का ब्रॉच वहीं रह जाता है. डी ने क्या किया? डी के असिस्टेंट ने क्या किया? ब्रॉच लिया और एक ड्रॉर में डाल दिया. पूरे वीकेंड पड़ा रहा, वो चोरी हो गया. मंडे को मालूम पड़ा कि वो गायब हो गया. अब तो डी लाइबिलिटी बनती है क्योंकि उसने प्रॉपर केयर नहीं की. क्या उसका खुद का ब्रॉच होता है ऐसे ड्रॉर में छोड़ देता है वो? आंसर इज because D has not taken a proper care, he is liable to compensate P for the loss. Please read once again example number 21. एक मिनट, क्या क्वेरी है कार्तिक की? Sir, if X is the owner of a house and he give it on rent, and Y who is on rent उसका घर खराब कर देता है और कुछ नुकसान कर देता है, तो कौन लाइबल होगा? जिसने नुकसान किया वो लाइबल होगा. वाई विल बी लाइबल. Sir, for the care, can the founder person who has found the goods can charge money if he has incurred? Suppose you have found the mobile, you have to recharge it, you have to get some repair for finding the original owner, you can claim. I will discuss this topic in unit number 8, provision for finding the lost goods. नहीं, ये सेक्शन 71 का पार्ट नहीं है कार्तिक। कोई डाउट इस एग्जाम्पल में किसी को बताओ फटाफट से, फिर लास्ट पॉइंट है इसका पढ़ने के लिए इस यूनिट का। यस बेटा कार्तिक। सेक्शन 72, लाइबिलिटी फॉर मनी पेड और थिंग डिलीवर्ड बाय मिस्टेक और अंडर क्वेश्चन। कोई पैसा गलती से या डरा धमका के दिया गया है तो उस केस में क्या हो? A person to whom money has been paid, a person to whom money has been paid or anything delivered by mistake or under coercion must repay or return it. अगर कोई डरा के कोई चीज आपसे खरीदी गई, फॉर एग्जाम्पल X has purchased uh, the scooter for 500 rupees on the gunpoint. So the person who sold the scooter has the option to avoid the contract, but he has to make the repayment of money. See example 22. A and B jointly owe rupees 100 to C. ए और बी ने जॉइंटली 100 रुपए लिए उधार, किससे लिए? सी से। ए एंड बी जॉइंटली ओ रुपीज 100 टू सी। ए अलोन पेज द अमाउंट टू सी। ए ने पूरा पेमेंट सी को कर दिया एंड बी नॉट नोइंग द फैक्ट पेज 100 रुपीज ओवर अगेन टू सी। बी को पता नहीं था, उसने दोबारा 100 रुपए दे दिए, किसको? सी को दे दिए। नाउ सी इज बाउंड टू रिपे द अमाउंट टू बी। भैया पैसे आ चुके, वापस कर दीजिए। प्लीज रीड एग्जाम्पल 22, पढ़िए ध्यान से। So this was unit number 6, but time for LPL match 2 for quasi contracts. नहीं नहीं देखिए, remember what I've discussed in case of joint contract. In joint contract, joint person is liable severally and jointly because A has C, because A has already paid the liability. So B is not liable to make the payment. So the B has made the payment by mistakenly. So C has to done the payment and A will claim the share from B. Clear? चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं। Quasi contractual liabilities lead to prevention of unjust enrichment, counter offer, cross offer, specific offer. A person who finds goods belonging to another and takes them into custody subject to the same responsibility as that of bailee, true owner, thief, and trespasser. Quasi contractual obligations arise by the principle of equity, justice, and good conscience. Restitution, recession, none of the above.
Hmm. Tech support. Please, once again, please elevate TANFAC IT to the panel. Yeah.
Claims for necessaries of life supply to the lunatic under Section 68 of Indian Contract Act can be enforced against the lunatic personally when he ceases to be lunatic, the relative of lunatic, the guardians of lunatic, lunatic's property or estate. Bete, Yashi, this cannot be the example of Section 71. This is something different. A person enjoying the benefits of a lawful non-gratuitous act of another is not liable to compensate that another is liable to compensate that another has to perform same non-gratuitous act in return, none of the above. Space arises obligations where no contract is originally entered. Wagering a contract, contingent contract, quasi contract, none of these. चलिए चेक करते हैं आंसर्स. Quasi contractual liabilities leads to prevention of unjust enrichment. A person who finds goods belonging to another and takes them into custody subject to the same responsibility as that of bailee. Quasi contractual obligation arise by the principle of equity, justice, and good conscience. Claim for necessary lunatic's properties or estate. A person enjoying the benefits of a lawful non-gratuitous act of another is liable to compensate that another. Quasi contract arises obligation where no contract is originally entered. So let's check who has given correct answers. Mr. K.H. Singh, Sarla Devi, Akash Sharma, Garvit Oja, very good. Subhash Oja, Tejaswini, Akshit. So this was unit number 6, but I have one or two questions for practice point of view. So let's discuss. Mr. L let out his residential house to Mr. M for rupees 50,000 per month for a period of 1 year. According to the rent agreement, electricity bill will be paid by Mr. L. But Mr. L could not pay electricity dues up to 5 months due to his financial hardship. The electricity board sent the notice of disconnection if it is not paid within a week's time. To avoid all this, Mr. M paid the electricity bill of rupees 50,000 with penalty. Later on, IL refuses to reimburse 50,000, argued that he has paid bill voluntarily because of his own interest. Decide with reference to the provisions of Indian Contract Act whether Mr. M is entitled to be reimbursed, yes or no. सर कार्तिक कह रहे हैं यूनिट एवरीवन सेइंग यस, कार्तिक की क्वेरी है, बाकी बच्चों से पूछ रहा हूं मैं, कह रहे हैं 6 यूनिट का पीडीएफ ओपन नहीं हो रहा है, केवल 1 पेज ओपन हो रहा है, ऐसा है क्या? बाकी लोग बताएं मुझे। पीडीएफ 6 प्रॉपर ओपन हो रही है ना? पीडीएफ यूनिट 6 प्रॉपर ओपन हो रही है ना? मेरे ख्याल से हो रही है, एक बार दोबारा आप करके देखिए, बच्चे कह रहे हैं हो रही है, एक बार करके देखिएगा बेटा। तो द आंसर इज M is liable to make the M is real। अरे यशी क्या लिख रहे हो बेटा आप? क्वेश्चन तो पढ़ो। M has made the payment, आपने M को L कर दिया, L को M कर दिया। According to section, only 3 marks question. According to section 69 of the Indian Contract Act, person who is interested in the payment of money which neither is bound to pay by law to pay and who therefore pays it is entitled to be reimbursed by the other. In the instant case, Mr. M paid the electricity bill to avoid the disconnection that was pending due to Mr. L's failure to fulfill his contractual obligation. Hence, Mr. M is entitled to be reimbursed for 50,000 from Mr. L. Clear? One more question. Mr. X, a minor studying in MCOM in college. On 1st July 2021, he took a loan of 1 lakh rupees from B for payment of his college fees and to purchase books and agreed to repay by 31st December 2021. X possesses asset worth rupees 9 lakh. On due date, X fails to pay back the loan to B. B now wants to recover the loan from X out of his estate, referring the provision whether B will succeed, yes or no. Definitely yes, out of his assets. अपनी assets से उसको पेमेंट करना पड़ेगा because it is the necessary. Clear हुआ? So अरे बाप रे, Sarla is taking a logic career. Sir, Sarla is saying, sir, in MCOM the age was 23. Don't go for logic, just come to the example. Yeah. Sarla, please don't do this in your exam. ऐसा मत करना, please. If the question is asked in your exam, please answer as per the question, not as per the logic. No, sir, this question was wrong. And because the MCOM student should be of the age of 23 years. So it cannot be minor. The question is wrong. No, you can't do that. ठीक है? नो फ्लो चार्ट इज देयर, फ्लो चार्ट नहीं बनाने एग्जाम में, ठीक है? सो एट दिस प्लेस वी आर एंडिंग द सेशन. सर एक्स इज नॉट माइनर, देन ही हैज टू मेक द पेमेंट, तो पेमेंट करना पड़ेगा उसको. थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी, थैंक यू सो मच. सर क्लास इज ओवर. सर सुन पा रहे हैं मुझे? हाँ सर, क्लास इज ओवर नाउ, यू कैन. ओके, थैंक यू सो मच.